Welcome to Reading and Writing Between the Lines, a podcast series about communication skills in the workplace. I'm your host, John Witzman. Join me as I speak with industry professionals and Conestoga faculty and alumni to explore their journeys with reading and writing skills. Follow us as we talk about how communications learning has changed over the years, how these skills are used in a wide range of industries, and the future of workplace communications. When you're in your various sort of stages of your career, are you coming up against a lot of sort of form-specific, sort of genre-specific writing? You know, you mentioned that one assessment that you wrote earlier. I would imagine that there's a lot of that very sort of specific writing where there are expectations in this type of document. We have to do this.
Absolutely.
Is there much explicit training on the job for those kinds of formal writing tasks, or do you just have to sort of are they connected to the things that you would have seen in your formal education, or are you just sort of picking one up and saying, okay, it looks like these are the expectations, let me conform to them?
No, you can you have to almost need an example to go off of before, right? So you can I don't want to say you pull information from it, but if they can provide you, or an employer can provide you, or even if you tie off of one of your old school projects or an old report that I wrote, something like that, right? That's more or less how I would apply it and use it in my professional setting. But, kind of like what you were saying before, like there's some days where I'm talking to our CFO through a communique, or to the masses through a communique, or if I'm just talking to a contractor or a sub or a colleague, it's totally different, right? Everything is different every day, so you have to be really agile on which way you're going about, but you also have to be proactive and think about how, take that extra 5-10 minutes and 20 minutes maybe just to review and think about how you're actually going to apply this and how I should frame this.
That's fascinating. And that was actually going to be my very next question, is listening to you talk about the range and variety of people that you communicate with throughout the course of the day. That's a big range, a big variety. And I was curious to know whether you were just sort of reacting almost on instinct, or were you able to take the time to sort of prepare a little bit for who you're speaking with?
So that's a learned skill, like I said, and I learned that the hard way.
Okay.
You have to really.
Was there an example where you spoke to to person A the way you would speak to person B?
Nothing off the top of my head, but just going through, going back and reviewing emails after you sent them and just going, oh no,
right,
like just littered with grammatical errors before you send it out, and you're just going, why did I do that? But and that just kind of ties it into take that extra 10 minutes, 20 minutes to sit and review and actually think, read through your email or read through your document that you're about, or your report that you're about to send off. And it could be to you, John, like from a student's perspective, or, talking to a different stakeholder in a job or a project that's ongoing, right? You always have to take that extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes to review and really make sure you're talking to the right audience in that appropriate,
I love the way you describe it as a learned skill, because for me, listening to you describe all of these sort of applied, these applied skills, these skills applied in context, I'm thinking about them in sort of tracing them back to how those skills might have been developed. And so I'm hearing the proposal or the outline, right? The planning document. And then I'm hearing the revision stage that happens after. So the first draft to the final draft.
Absolutely. And that's all stuff that you guys teach in communications 100%. And it's so applicable, right? It is so very applicable in every, and it doesn't even have to be in writing, just even speaking and reading and reading comprehension and everything like that. It's so applicable and it's so necessary.
Do you feel, looking back over the course of your career, maybe from your early days, maybe as a student to your sort of first job out of school to where you're at now, can you sort of situate yourself in a progression and say, I'm more capable of communicating succinctly, concisely what I need to say in no more than what I need to say it?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said before, it's learned. It's something that you have to really, it's trial by fire and trial by error.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have to make a few mistakes, like we were saying, in order to kind of look back and reflect and be like, oh no, I'm not going to do that again, and learn from it and really understand what it was you were trying to say or what you were talking about via email or whatever the case may be, right?
And that marks the end of another episode of Reading and Writing Between the Lines, a podcast hosted by me, John Witzman, on behalf of the Communications Department and School of Interdisciplinary Studies at Conestoga College. You can find other episodes of this series on our YouTube channel, Reading and Writing Between the Lines. Stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks for listening.